In a world full of questions, few dare to explore the very core of existence. Join Dr. Danijela Jakic as she guides us through a profound journey inspired by Ljubomir Jergovic's philosophical masterpiece, The Law of Existence. This seminar isn't just a talk. It's a mirror to your consciousness and a doorway to truth. Prepare to unlock what it truly means to exist.
So firstly, I would like to welcome everyone and thank you for coming. And it's really nice to see, this room this full, because quite often we don't have so many people coming and responding, because people are busy doing other things. But I think that this theme that we're going to talk about today is very relevant, very important for all of us to get to know a little bit more about it. So, as you've seen on this pamphlet, we're going to address a lot of big questions. So I'm not going to go through them. You're aware of that already. I'm going to start this presentation telling you a little bit about my father. So all his life he spent researching science, philosophy, and he's highly spiritual as well. So he was asking himself all these questions that we've got answered today. So he was doing meditation, when transcendental meditation that was introduced by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi came to Croatia, actually. Then, he did the course. And my brother also did the course then on transcendental meditation. So, and then my father, through his meditations and through his astral traveling, that the ability to do, he developed over years. He started receiving teachings from his astral teacher. And basically, he called it the light being. So all this that I'm going to present today has been downloaded by him, and he put it in this form, trying to make it really understandable for everyone. My father has been also guest speaker on some of Serbian podcasts that concern themselves with this thematic. And also, as I mentioned, we did the YouTube video together. But he's 85 years old. He was meant to be here today, but maybe it would have been too much for him to sit, for that long. And so he decided, and he's not feeling 100%, so he decided to stay at home. But he will be available on some other occasion if anyone is going to be interested to know more about it and to ask more questions. It can be organized, no problems. So, as a child growing in that kind of environment, with this kind of knowledge was implanted, into me as well. And then later on I started thinking about it, and then I realized maybe we can do something to help for this knowledge to get widely known and accepted. And that's why I'm doing this, because definitely there is a value that I'm sure you're going to see as well. So even the science knows a lot about a lot of things today. We still are lacking answers to some of these questions that you probably would agree with me. So science, philosophy, and theology still don't have a full answer to what exists, how it exists, and why does it exist. So what my father has done, he actually, as I said, researched a lot. Science, quantum science, physics, and biology, and also philosophy. So he's very active on philosophical forums as well. And he put all those pieces of the puzzle in a causal consequential relationship that is entirely new. So that's something that was lacking in overall knowledge. So he's come with that, the law of existence. Okay, now, I hope that Ruchika, your sister, will be here because she had particular questions about quantum physics and quantum field and vibrations and all those kinds of things. And but anyway, there will be another occasion where we can talk about it with her. So basically, we need to mention something about quantum physics because it's not something that everyone is understanding and talking about, you know, to the extent that there is a huge understanding about it. So quantum physics concerns itself with what's happening at the quantum level, which is level of really, really smallest particles of the world that world is made of. So those little particles, actually, they are not following the laws of the classical physics, like a Newtonian mechanics and things like that. So they behave completely differently than what science, you know, expects. And they can't actually say how they're going to behave till actually they measure it, which is very random. So 4 years ago, four physicists in the world have been doing different kinds of research, and all of them come up with the same kind of result, which says that everything in this universe is connected. So whatever we do here, it's going to have influence in the whole universe. So that's something that, you know, it's a little bit, you know, hard to comprehend. So it's called entanglement. So they got Nobel Prize for that. Then quantum biologists that are looking at the physiological processes inside of our body, they were doing some research as well, like beaming the photons and the electrons on the other occasions. You know, so it's called the two-slit experiment. So there is one piece of paper, and there are two slits on the piece of paper. So they were beaming from here those photons or electrons, and then electrons would not just go straight through. They would make a little, like a stand, and then decide if they're going to go to the, you know, upper one or lower one. And if the first one went through the upper one, the other one would go through the lower one. So there is definitely, it looks like they were deciding. So they have their own free will, and they're deciding what they're going to do. So the implication of that and what they mentioned for our physiological processes within our body is, for example, because we're all made of energy, all made of electricity. So when that electron comes to certain, like, intersection, it can decide if it's going to go left and make us healthy, or is it going to go right and make us, you know, sick. So basically like that. I mean, it's going to be involved in production of different protein, which as a consequence will have different, you know, appearance and different effect in our body. So that's what's happening at the quantum level. So those quantum particles, science has numbered 12 of them. They're particle fields. And they're all charged. So we have leptons, we have quarks. You probably heard about them. We're not going to go into, you know, more informations about them because it's not necessary. But also there are 4 force fields. And one of them is gravity. The other one is electromagnetic field. So the simplest particle of gravity is called graviton. Simplest particle of the electromagnetic waves is called photons. And then we have strong and weak nuclear force. So all of them, so those 12 plus 4, they're involved in making everything that exists. So that's the only thing that scientists, when they're observing quantum field, science says that our universe started from the moment of a Big Bang, which means that from very concentrated, infinitesimally small point of high density and the high temperature, suddenly, by self-propulsion, it started like enlarging and spreading in the universe. Of course, you know, that's called Big Bang. And that has occurred a long time ago. According to the science, our universe is 13.81 billion years old. So, what's happening at the beginning of that Big Bang? So we have that from that small piece of future universe, everything started developing, and everything started spreading out and forming. So, at the beginning, the quarks, those smallest particles, and protons have been formed. So 3 minutes after, the protons started fusing with the neutrons, and they started forming those nuclei. 20 minutes ago, it was the temperature dropped down to like 1 billion Celsius degrees, and it was too cold for the fusion to happen again. But still, it was too hot for the electrons to join the party and form the atoms. So it took another 380,000 years for those for the first atom to be formed. So during that time, we had like that hot, like a mixture, hot soup of those nuclei that have been produced, then electrons, and there was also hydrogen and some nuclei of helium. So only after that, when the universe cooled down sufficiently, then electrons could join and make the first atom. And then it took another hundreds and hundreds of years till the first star formed. And from that, galaxies and everything. So once all those celestial bodies have been formed, then the cell formed. The life forms started being developed, electric material forms. Cells, and after that, plants, and the animals, and the human. We're still developing. We didn't finish. A lot of people knows about term awakening, but no one actually understands what awakening is, what we are awakening to. Okay? So that's the part in this evolution of the whole universe, and us as a human society. We are actually going towards being enveloped with the higher consciousness, our collective consciousness, which is going to envelop us all, plants and animals and everything that exists in one big consciousness. So that's the next stage of evolution. So we need to actually awake to the possibility that that's what's going to happen, and we need to be aware of the laws and how, it can happen. What we, as us, human beings, can do in order to enable for that to happen. And we'll go through that a little bit later, but it's very easy to understand and very easy to do as well. Okay. Now, to start with the explanation about the quantum field. So, quantum field, it's vast. Even in the universe, everything is so big. So even the science says, like a starting point is very small. Actually, it's very big, and we can't see, the limits, around. So that quantum field can be in two different forms. It can be in its active and its inactive form. If it is in its inactive form, then it's not moving. There is nothing that science can do to find any kind of movement, any kind of energy, any kind of material forms, anything in there. But suddenly, because they were doing these observations and these research, suddenly they look and through those instruments, and suddenly something appears. In that nothingness, something appears, becomes material, or they detect some energy. So that's the point when this field actually has become activated. So that field, immaterial, immobile, indestructible, actually is our consciousness. Because within itself, we're forgetting that we all have, our outer, who we are, so our body and things, but that's not us. When we say I am, that's who we are. That's what we know, that's our experience, that's everything that we went through. So the same thing applies, to whole universe. It applies to this quantum field. So that quantum field for us, when we look from outside, is nothing. For itself, within itself, is pure consciousness. It's knowledge. It's everything so concentrated. All the potentials, all the possibilities, everything is there, but just in its non-material form. So that's what it is. And you can see the parallel between, the God as well, because it's omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. So ancient cultures and civilization that unfortunately have been destroyed because they didn't learn this law of existence, and they didn't pass, this last step where the collective consciousness was, supposed to envelop them all, and they destroyed themselves before that happened, but they knew certain, things more than us about all these things. And that knowledge has been passed through, but it has been distorted through religions, through, different cultural beliefs, and on different continents it appeared, in different forms. So what Maharishi says about it? Maharishi, I mentioned, as he was actually a physicist. In 1942, he did physics degree as well. And then he changed his focus, to the spiritual. And then that's what, he was researching, and he's found out that just behind everything that exists is that big nothingness, which actually is not nothingness, but the pure consciousness. And Castaneda was an anthropologist. I'm not quite sure if you heard about him. But he was, I read all the books about his journey with Don Juan, which was, Indian shaman that actually was teaching him, spirituality and all those kinds of things. It's very interesting. And basically, Don Juan was explaining to him that what exists is tonal and nahual. So tonal is everything that we can see, everything that we can touch, everything that we can be aware of. And nahual is actually nothingness. But that's the second half of the world that no one can see. No one knows how it looks like, but it's there, and nothing can happen, nothing can exist without it. So that's the, again, consciousness. So science has a lot of problem seeing the unity between material and spiritual. And basically, it's the same. It's the same. I would like to mention Hegel as well. Hegel is a German philosopher, and he lived in the end of the 17th and beginning of the 18th century. And he was the one concerning himself with these things as well. So he was talking about absolute and relative existence. And he said, from something that exists as a first, something as a second develops, or that first one transforms into that second one, then that second one doesn't exist. What exists is only the first one that existed, and that second one is stemming from. Do you understand that? So if we have in mind that that quantum field is a consciousness which, by his ability to exert and bestir itself, produced energy that then slowed down to become matter and started physically to exist, then by using the other 5 psychological abilities that quantum field also has, of observation of its own activity, because we are all aware, we are all aware. We observe what's happening. We feel what's happening, what kind of influence it has on us, whatever is happening around us and what we do. And we know we are doing that. So our consciousness knows that, it is the one that is doing that. Okay? Also, we memorize everything, what we did. So we remember what happened, when we were little, and what happened to us later, and then we have, certain intentions, what are we going to do in order how we want our life to look tomorrow. But actually what we're living is only today, only this very moment. So by exerting, steering itself, and moving, it does the work and becomes physical. So produces energy, produces elementary particles. And then, because they are conscious, they are part of that consciousness, then they observe, they feel, and they memorize what they did and everything, all those actions. So they gain experience. Then that experience needs to be thought of and understood in order for us to gain knowledge. So that's how actually consciousness is experiencing itself through the material forms that it makes on the basis of the knowledge that actually it acquires. Consciousness is the one that is the first cause. Consciousness is the one that is the only cause. So us here, these chairs, everything, it doesn't exist. It's just a consciousness which actually projects itself and actually forms all those electric, material, higher organizations through which it experiences itself. So what I would like you to understand, what is the base, is that within that quantum field, quantum field is not just nothing. So it has its I am. That I am, it's its psychological state. And then, by its movement, it creates physical forms, and then also through 5 psychological abilities, gains experience and acquires knowledge. So it can continue to exist. So that's how those little smallest particles made everything that exists in this world. So we talked about all this already. Einstein, for example, as well, he said, you're familiar with his theory of relativity, which says that E equals m times c squared. So where E is energy, m is mass, and c is the speed of light squared. So what the energy is? So first and the most important of all is that we are all energy. Everything that exists is energy. And that's what Tesla said as well. If you want to know about the existence of universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. So those firstly, energy forms. When energy slows down enough, then becomes material. Energy and matter are the same. There is the amount of energy and matter is the same. So energy can become and can be transferred into the matter and matter into the energy, but overall, like a sum of them is always the same. So nothing can be added, nothing can be deducted from it. So it's all the time transforming into each other. And obviously, like 1 kilogram of mass can produce enormous amount of energy. So times, 900,000 kilometers an hour. That's what we need to time. So it's a enormous like a speed. So it needs to slow down in order to become material. So basically those little subatomic particles, actually they are particle fields and 4 force fields that are making everything that exists. So within themselves they're conscious. So they have 2 physical and 5 psychological abilities. So we all have that. So all humans on Earth are doing different kinds of work. We have different professions. But basically what we all do, we all exert ourselves and move and do the work. And we all observe what we're doing. We feel, we memorize, and then we think about it and we understand what we're doing. So, that's all the same. So all material world has the same kind of abilities as those little particles, and also the same as the quantum field. So that's common to all existence. So we just mentioned about difference between ability and possibility. So those 2 physical and 5 psychological abilities that everyone has should not be mixed with the possibilities, because by using those 7, we can make diverse kind of movements and effects in this world, and consciousness can do it. So it's like an alphabet, So we have 26 or how many, those letters we have, doesn't matter. In my country we have 30. And then, with help of them, we can say anything. We can, do philosophical thesis. We can do a big novels. We can do whatever we want, And it's only 30 of those letters, or less, depend on the language. So those are possibilities. So we have enormous possibilities, with those 5 abilities that are identical for everything that exists. So that's why consciousness is making all those different forms, material forms of existence. You know, in the sea, how many of those different energetic materials form we have? I have no idea, you know, and they're coming up with the new ones all the time, like those dolphins with a nose and things. Yeah, so we don't know. We don't know anything about all those creatures that live on in a very deep seas, what they're doing, you know, what their purpose is. Definitely everything that exists has to have a purpose. So I think that after what I just was talking about, that we can conclude that only consciousness exists and its 7 physical and psychological abilities. Okay, so it's who I am inside of me, which has the ability to exert, move, observe, feel, think, understand, and memorize. Descartes, in first half of the 17th century, he said, I think, therefore I am. Cogito ergo sum. That's in Latin. So, only that's how consciousness knows that it exists. Consciousness can see its movement, its work, its, can feel, can memorize, can think about things. And it knows it's it, or that does it. It's not someone else. That's her abilities. And she doesn't need any other proofs that it exists. Consciousness can't be proved. It's immaterial. It can't be proved with senses or, without senses. It can't be proved with anything. What can we do? I mean, Western medical science has been doing research when people were dying. And they were measuring the weight of the bed, of course, with the patient on it. And they found the difference of 4 grams. 4 grams only. With every patient that died. And they concluded, on the basis of that, it might be the soul. It might be the consciousness. Because the consciousness actually is everywhere. It permeates, our body. It keeps it together. It gives... consciousness is not stemming from the brain. That's what Western science was a long time, under impression. And there is two scientists. One of them is a neurosurgeon, Hameroff, and Penrose. So Penrose is physicist. So basically, they were researching and trying to find the roots of consciousness within human brain. And they're saying maybe inside of those microtubules that are consisting part of all the cells in the body, but in the brain cells as well, certain chemical processes happen, and that's what produces consciousness. But that's not how it is. Brain is our hard drive. Brain is a software. Body is a hardware. So brain is for processing all the informations. Brain is for making sure that all the programs which are according to which our body needs to function, is there to function that way. So it constantly receives orders from our consciousness through electrical signals. Consciousness is everywhere. So those little, you have this picture here. This is human consciousness. But it consists of those little dark dots. So that's elementary particles. They have their own consciousness. But then, when they become atom, then there is atom consciousness, which is actually enveloping everything and make sure that everything functions according to the same principle. So even atom has its brain, its body, and its consciousness. When atoms come together, they make a cell. So this is the cell. So then they work according, this higher consciousness. So that's hierarchical system. When all the cells come together, they form human consciousness. Human consciousness has the body, has the brain, and has consciousness that tells it what to do. What is death? What happens when we die? Only our human consciousness stops existing. It leaves. But we still have cell consciousness. But cells don't know what to do without, being told from the higher hierarchy. They can't, sustain itself. They can't function as us anymore because there is no us. There is no our consciousness. And then it all decays and becomes those single elementary particles again. And then it all goes and becomes part of the higher quantum field. They said there is I don't know how many trillions of those free electrons running around. And we are made of energy. That's what Tesla said as well. Our heart is a big relay station. It's producing energy all the time, electricity that is running throughout our body and is making sure that everything is done properly. So it's very important, to be aware of what our heart is telling us in opposition to what our brain is telling us. Because the brain doesn't have whole information. It has just enough that it can, drive us around. So what others think about existence of consciousness? The God is depicted as a creator, the first cause, and consciousness is the first cause. And the God creates the world out of nothing. I mean, it's all has been transformed and through centuries. But what's at the beginning, consciousness creates the world out of itself, which is relatively nothing. And it says God can be found only within ourselves. So within ourselves, we cannot find anything else except consciousness. We can all say, I am. But who I am, I can't see you, who you are. You can only tell me, or I can see, the appearance of, who you are. But who you are exactly, I don't know.
Are you saying there is no God, only universal consciousness?
Yes, I mean, it's the same. There is God. You can call it God. I don't mind.
No, I just...
Yeah, you can call it God. You can call it like a higher self. You can call it however you like. But, that's the parallel. So my father in his book is the first author that precisely lists all consciousness' physical and psychological abilities. So that's what was missing all this time. And, the science wasn't... science will necessarily need to marry spiritual and material. Because that's the only way. Without that understanding, we can't move forward. And he also analyzes causal consequential relationship of physical and psychological actions, which consciousness must alternately and eternally perform in order to maintain itself as it is. And this understanding helps us to answer how and why consciousness exists. Now we come to 12 o'clock. Now I'm going to address two other topics: how consciousness exists and why. So now we're going to talk about two different questions which are very important. Is how consciousness exists and why. So consciousness exists by means of knowledge. So that's the purpose of all those material forms existing and the consciousness gaining all the experience and knowledge through them. So it can use that knowledge again to start anew. So knowledge actually cannot cause consciousness. But what could cause consciousness?
God.
Consciousness is God.
Yes, Mum.
Okay, so consciousness gains knowledge by means of 5 physical and psychological actions: exertion, movement, observation, feeling, and memorizing. And about its physical and psychological movements and actions, knowledge is used for thinking and understanding. And it serves consciousness to transform itself into the state of desire or will. So we can have a lot of different knowledges in our brain. But, we know that we should, for example, lose weight. I mean, I'm the one. But we're not doing much about it. I mean, I have that knowledge, but I don't have will. It doesn't get into the state of desire for something to be done, something to be changed. But that's something, that I have to decide for myself. And who is I? That's again, I am, or consciousness. So all that knowledge that exists can be dormant, can exist there, for eons. And then suddenly, consciousness remembers it. And then it has a wish to do exactly that. Or, for example, how you're thinking sometimes, oh, I wish, maybe to eat this now. It just would suit me, the best. And then you're going, doesn't matter what you've got in the fridge, you go and look for something else. Or you go out and you buy something and that's what satisfies your desire. So that's exactly what's happening. Consciousness, acts on the knowledge that actually creates desire within itself at that point. And then it starts moving and doing something about it because it wants to change, it wants to achieve that. And that way, it acquires knowledge. So what is older, movement and knowledge? So this is something that, the old story about chicken and egg, what is older, chicken and egg? So I've got a picture of that in your handouts, I'll give it to you. So it's all the same. So I'll show you something else first. Yeah, this one. So you see here, exerting and movement, that's what happens first, it creates energy. And then we have observation, feeling, memorizing, it creates experience. And then plus thinking and understanding creates knowledge. There's the circle. This is eternal cycle of the events. That's what happens all the time. So these are all states of consciousness. So what is older, or chicken or egg, is actually a wrong question. Because nothing is older and nothing is younger. And everything stems from each other. So knowledge can't come first without all this happening. And then the movement can't come first without all the knowledge that has to be acquired first. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we talked about it. The question of the beginning of existence of consciousness is wrong. That's what we said. So consciousness exists forever. Consciousness is not created and can't be destroyed. It exists from eternity and always. I don't know how I jumped to this one now. Really. Yeah. Yeah, so energetic material forms and knowledge about them are subject to eternal recurrence with the meaning of self-preservation. So that's the way actually the consciousness preserves itself. It's going through 3 different states. So those 3 different states we have explained here. So you all familiar with this this image. So in Korea, they use that. And it symbolizes unity of all humanity and, spiritual unity and all those kinds of things, something that Korean people aspire to. So this yellow part here, I mean, this is all consciousness, okay? So, and some religions say like God is only one. Some religions say God is, like a triune, or, there is a trinity. So, for example, in Christian religion, there is a trinity. Son, Father, Holy Spirit. So Holy Spirit would be here. So that's all the knowledge. And this is dormant kind. This is quantum field when it's not activated. So all the knowledge, all the possibilities are available, but nothing is still materialized. Then we have Sun, which is developing. It's ascending and reaching the culmination. And after that is the Father, which energy is going down. And then it's decaying, and then transforms again into this knowledge. In Indian Hindu religion, there are 3 gods. One is Vishnu, which is creator. Then it's Brahma, which is developer. And then it's Shiva, destroyer. So the same kind of thing. Muslim religion says, there is only one God. Nothing is wrong with that because, this is one God. Doesn't matter if you specify, that it consists of 3 parts or 3 states. It's still one God. So that's the nature of the consciousness. That's the nature of transformation of everything that exists from the egg, which is here, which has all the knowledge, everything that's needed for the new life to start existing. And then the chicken is created, and chickens start developing and gaining all the knowledge and everything as a chicken and as a hen. And then it starts aging, ideally, and dying, if we don't put it in the soup at the meantime. Yeah. So, that's that cycle that everything that exists goes through. This is the seasons. This is the winter. This is spring, and then summer, and then late summer, and autumn, and winter again. So that's cycle which consciousness goes through to self-preserve, because exertion and movement require energy. So we're using energy, and we're getting tired. So when consciousness gets tired here, gets tired of using its energy, creating, developing, and reaches the culmination, then it gets tired and wants to, relax. Then it starts resting and relaxing. and actually, goes down. So why is that all happening? It's happening because feeling tired, without energy, things like that, it's a feeling of dissatisfaction or discontentment, basically. And we always, by definition, we are moving always from the end where we experience discomfort and discontentment to the part where we feel content, satisfied, where we achieve good and harmony. But what is the force that is actually causing us to move? Is that discontentment? In that way, it's a positive force because it's causing us to move and do something about predicament that we are finding ourselves in. But then when we resolve the situation, when we reach, the state of good and harmony, then we don't have a reason to move anymore. Then we just, so too much good is not good. So we understand that now, yeah? Because it's not like a force that will cause us to develop and to change and to do something. Only when we're not happy, then we're trying to change something. And consciousness is all the time moving from the place where it doesn't feel good to the place when it feels good. So that's constant. Because not feeling good means non-existence. It leads to non-existence. And feeling good is, being in harmony with everything that exists. And then, continue. Consciousness basically wants to go through 3 phases without being disturbed, smoothly, so that nothing is obstructing, that flow. So that's basically the purpose of the existence, that we go through these 3 phases undisturbed, unobstructed, without pressure of fanaticism, different kinds of things that are stopping our growth, without intolerance, without deep conditioning, without inertia, without laziness to change something. So, why consciousness exists? So, as we say, the purpose is satisfaction and good and harmony. And it means yes. So, by achieving its purpose, we can self-preserve. Consciousness is eternally running away from evil to good, from non-existence to its existence, and thus causes itself. So we explained all about it just before. From negative movements and actions that endanger its existence to the state of the positive movements and actions which enable its existence. So how do we know? How do we discern what is positive movement and what is negative movement? So negative movements have no order and no sense. Chaotic movements. Particles collide and clash, stop moving. So that's what was happening for 3,800 years, million years, billion years, whatever. When the Big Bang started, when we had, that hot soup with all those electrons and everything. So those particles were colliding and cancelling itself. So there was no organized movement, there was no development, it was just chaos. And that's why, it took long period of time for those particles, for their consciousness to gain that knowledge of certain ways of moving themselves, so they avoid this kind of issue. So they can move around in an organized way. So of course, returning to the state of non-activity and stillness, it doesn't serve the purpose. It's negative, and it causes suffering and feeling of evil. So only organized, harmonious movements and actions of particles and part of consciousness can be classified as positive movements. And all energy and matter forms in the universe today are only positive, organized and harmonious movements of particles and part of consciousness, and nothing else. So those little particles found a way how to exist within different energetic material forms in a harmonic way. So that's how our body actually exists. So now, at the next stage of evolution, we need to find what are those positive movements that we have to do in order to create and to become part of that collective consciousness which is going to envelop whole planet. So this is another thing. So we explained that non-active state of quantum field is stillness, active state developing, rising, expanding, and ascending. So as we said, universe is still expanding. So we're not nowhere near finishing of our overall existence. And then we'll stay at the summit for a number of millions of years, who knows, and then we'll start collapsing and ascending and all that. So that's what repeats, what happens in the universe as well. That's how universes are being born and how universes are being demolished. But what remains is consciousness, knowledge about all the forms, energetic material forms that existed and they form that universe. So going through those three states, so it applies to everything, so that's what we said. So another interesting thing, this is about vibration. Those elementary particles, so just imagine a little elementary particle that goes through these three states constantly in order to self-preserve, in order to exist. And so it switches on here, switches on there, switches on there. It creates humming sound. Scientists have been looking at the Milky Way and its nebula. And they were, putting those antennas, listening, and they heard, that humming noise. Okay? Then they changed antennas. They thought, something is wrong with their equipment. They changed it. They put it again in the other direction. And they got the same thing. So this is the noise that those free elementary particles which are forming that nebula around the Milky Way, that's they're doing. Also, quantum computers these days. Scientists has a very big issue with the noise. They said quantum noise. So that's actually the noise, that they're making when they're existing. That's noise, switching on all the time. And they want to, minimize that noise, and they put it in a cold rooms and, whatever, and they say it's not possible, and things like that. So think about it. It's very interesting. So this is what we call vibration, because science also says that material, like matter, is made of those particles which are vibrating constantly. And that's how they create kinetic energy. So this applies, to our understanding, that from that consciousness has ability to exert itself and form the energy. So that's that kinetic energy, basically, which exists there. And it's constant vibration, and people are told you need to increase your vibration, and you need to, advance spiritually, and all those kind of things. People don't understand that. How I can increase my vibration? So we can increase our vibration just by doing positive movements. Positive movements. So, which means that we need to get out of our shell, not think only about ourselves, but think about other people. Help other people. Do something for other people. Think how we can make a difference in all this society. So that's how we increase. We live according to our purpose. We making those positive movements. And we contributing to whole humanity to go to the next level. That's how we're increasing our vibration. And also, you need to understand that at those levels of those little particles, they vibrate very, very fast, and they are very dense. So they have very, speed of their vibration, their frequency is very high. And then the speed, the frequency that we are vibrating at is much lower. And as you go further, for example, planet is vibrating even at a lower vibration, and the whole universe vibrating at even lower vibration that takes millions of years. So by increasing our vibration, we actually getting closer to the source, closer, to those little particles that know everything, and that they are actually from that quantum field. And quantum field is the one which is omniscient, knows everything. So that's how with meditation we, delve deep down and make connection to those levels. So that's what does it mean, increase your vibration, increase your frequency.
But is it only through meditation that you can do that?
No,
Just
not necessarily.
changing, just
That's one of the ways.
Those attitude, towards other people, towards, the whole world.
This is like a meditation is one way. And I would say it's passive. But there is active way when we do things for others. When we influence others to become better, human beings. And when we give them opportunity, when we give them the chance to change. So that's different. We can be very active. We don't need to do meditation at all. It's all the same. Okay, so why does it exist? Because it must. So evil and good are forces which eternally, alternately express itself in all existence. And then, people always ask, why the God is made, all this suffering and all that. It's there for a reason. So it's all there just experience. How do we know that something is good if we don't know that something is bad? How we can make a difference? How we can adjust our behavior, to reach the next stage in evolution if everything is the same? There is no improvement if everything is the same. And the people that are going through their different experiences, really hard experiences, suffering, they are doing that not just for themselves, they're doing that for us, because we need to reflect on it and see what kind of situations actually contributed for them experiencing what they're experiencing. And that's what we need to stay off. And we need to change. And we need to transform it into positive. So basically, we always, by definition, go from negative towards positive. And there is always 51% of positive in comparison to 49 negative or less. So this is before the Big Bang. So that's what I was explaining about the knowledge that actually created desire within, that field to start moving, exerting itself, and start developing and changing. So It's also the cause of development of the movement and actions of all its parts and particles that are creating what today we call life and the universe. How can evil be avoided? So we can't eliminate evil, but we are proofs that the evil can be avoided because we exist as a unit, you know, as that electric and material form under governance of our human consciousness. So human consciousness has found a way to actually avoid the evil that is going to be destructible for our body and keeps us alive as long as it can. But then, of course, according, to this, gets to that point, we start decaying, getting older and all those kinds of things, and we change our form of existence. But, we can avoid permanently. So that's how we need to think in those terms. What can we do in society that we can create those positive conditions for development of just socio-economic order for everyone, for example? So that will be one of the ways that we can be contributing to everyone becoming aware of their own deeds, because they're influencing everyone else's. When the collective consciousness envelops us all, then I will be aware of your suffering. And you will be aware of my suffering, if that's the case. So I don't want you to suffer because I suffer as well, and then I will do something about it. Okay? So it's all connected.
So in a word, it means that we need to have an awakening, an awakening.
This is about awakening, exactly. This is about awakening to choose the positive ways of thinking, positive ways of acting. So we are influencing the future for our future generations.
Because at the moment, what I perceive is that all of us, are just completely asleep. And we need, just to do something.
Yes.
To awake,
yes.
To what we are, experiencing at the moment. Because we are going, just traveling like followers,
Yes.
They're doing whatever, just hear they're saying, so we follow.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But the change starts from the individual. The change starts from the individual. When you change, the way, then consciousness, your consciousness gain that knowledge. Then because we all connected, influences the knowledge and consciousness of the other person. And what we projecting, to be this world that we co-creating together, actually can change. We don't need to do revolutions. We don't need to do those kinds of things. We just need to change ourselves. And how we behave in our, community, how we help each other. What are we doing? Yeah, so this is about the law of Trinity. I already talked about it. Body, brain, and consciousness. So everything, as I said, even the smallest particles, they have body, brain, and the consciousness as well. And so this is all that we mentioned before about brain being hard drive and software, storing, memorizing information and knowledge, rules and laws of movement and actions of the system, and enabling the most efficient avoidance of dissatisfaction or evil and realization of satisfaction or good. So that's what's that about. And our consciousness is information system. Information system that actually has a template by which we exist. And in our DNA, we stored, all our genetic materials, as we know. And that's material part of DNA. But there is also light part of DNA that doesn't die, that stays within the within the collective consciousness, field of consciousness. So everything that we ever learned about, knew about everything. It is not lost. It is there as an experience for us to learn from, for the others to learn from as well. And it's available.